I need to reintroduce the idea of I and other for this to make sense in myself. So, yesterday we discussed the practice of offering the victory to others. It's obvious that practice does only make sense to an I. I offer the victory to others. And it's a construct. There's neither an I nor another. And the other one was to see oneself as the lowest of all. And the first 6 goes along with that. When someone I have benefited and in whom I have placed great trust hurts me very badly, I will see that person as my supreme teacher. When someone I have benefited and in whom I have placed great trust hurts me very badly, I will see that person as my supreme teacher. So a lot of the reframing of the Lojong we did yesterday is applicable here. And one could see this verse as an exploration of the practice of forgiveness. Of course, hurt can only happen if there's an I. If that I is recognized as illusionary, as empty, then nothing can be hurt. So the kind of most profound practice of forgiveness is the experience that nothing happened. There's nothing to forgive. The memory of someone has hurt you in an apparent past is a dream, which is solidified by the narrative mind. Nevertheless, if there is still a strong identification with the narrative self and a strong belief that there's a past, obviously to find some relief, some space, it's helpful to change the story. And neither of these two stories are true. So let's explore a bit, reflect on forgiveness. This is one of the practices one can do every day as part of your schedule. And as all the other practices, in the practice of forgiveness, the release happens in the body. It is a function of the subtle body. So we have the capacity, starting with the cognitive level, the body has the capacity to let go. But it's difficult to explore that, how that happens. But we do it constantly. Like, someone said something hurtful last week. And at one point, somehow, you had let go of it. That this is not there anymore. And maybe you think something, it was not so bad. And I can actually understand why this person said this at that moment, or something like that, and suddenly, so that's this letting go. And we can let it go because it's not real. We keep it alive. We feed it. And if you don't let go, if you wouldn't have let go of this incident 1 week ago or 1 year ago, you would still put the cement of, you would rub reality into it by repeating it. Oh, he said this, and I said that, and I shouldn't have said this, and he shouldn't have said that, and it's all so horrible, and yeah. And then we carry this contraction. But it's us who do it. It's not the other person. So primarily, firstly, mainly, we do the practice of forgiveness for ourselves. The person who suffers through not forgiving is you. It has nothing to do with the other person. Mainly. I can be also a gift to another person, of course. So what I said yesterday about the internal family system, that violence comes from hurt. So that can help. It can also help that by looking deeply inside, to see that you're doing the same things. and to explore, why are you doing this? Where does it come from? And you will always find the little hurt girl. You will always find the pain within you. Violence is born from pain. And then it might be easier to let go, to forgive. Usually part of the forgiveness process is to express your pain. That is definitely a good start. So there is a kind of, in this confused, distorted way of looking at reality, which we need to assume for this practice to make sense. There is something like a premature pretense of forgiveness, which is an expression of our unwillingness to feel the pain. Yes, we know that the pain is relying on ignorance, on distortion of reality, but nevertheless it is there. So, feeling the pain of being hurt, expressing it, and feeling it as long as it is there. And in some cases that might take years of, those of you who have been more deeply hurt by another person, probably you have noticed it kind of goes into circles. So pain arises, and initially it is almost overwhelming, and you might not be able to feel it completely. Maybe you need some help of another person to make the space bigger where this pain is felt, or where this pain can be felt. And then if it's felt, you might even have a sense, okay, so that's done. I have let go of this. And then a few months later you discover, wow, there is another level which I have not felt. Another level which needs to come up. It's not possible to force yourself to open your heart again to another person. It needs its time. It's like a plant. It's growing by itself. You can water it, you can fertilize it, but it's not in your control, because there's nobody in control. It's not a decision you can make. Okay, I forgive this person. That could only work if there's someone in control. If there's like the boss at the family table and everyone is obeying. So how is it put here? I will see that person as my supreme teacher. So that's not something you can So first, I will see this person as my supreme teacher is the result. It is not the practice. It is not. It is the description of the result, and not the prescription, not the medicine. And all the stuff we have explored yesterday, that's part of the path, how to get there. So it's not like a practice of, okay, I should now think of this person as my supreme teacher. Supreme teacher, supreme teacher, supreme teacher. So you do the practices, and then you see this person as your supreme teacher. It's not something you need to think. It's the way you look at that person. And the path to get there is very individual. It's very different for different people. That's why it's so good to listen to many teachers, and I mean, if you want to deepen the exploration of forgiveness, then you do some research. Which people have explored this topic? Who is teaching this? What kind of methods do they use? There's amazing projects like the Stanford Forgiveness Project from Stanford University. They have made years of research, and they work with not like things like someone says something critical to me, but with murder and war and so that's the scale of forgiveness they are researching and working with. And if you are a bit scientific, materialistic reminded, then it's good to go into that kind of stuff, because you see the measurable results of certain practices. And it's also so inspiring to read about cases, what human beings are able to genuinely forgive, Auschwitz survivors, and it's so inspiring. So that can be part of, it can nurture that intention. And it's a difficult work, because it includes, as I said, the feeling of the pain. You're not kind of wiping it away. So it's all empty, or I don't think about it. So that's why it also takes time. Often the hurt is so deep that it actually can't be felt completely in kind of one moment. One needs to gently peel it off layer by layer. But you have to do it. If you don't do it, then you will take it with you. Yes.
I noticed that I think since many years that I know this. So I in some cases I have done it. So and I can know, this person suffer, like also we did yesterday, but I also notice that I sort of still, I don't want to do it. So, or I try to sort of, I know this, so, now I was hurt, and I know it, so I still go back to resisting feeling and really, I guess, understanding what happens in me. And so it makes very much sense that I can see also now that so I receive, so I really trick myself not do it again and again. And then I also noticed that I really need this loving space to be able to, whatever that loving space is, that I can hold it, or it somewhere, or with some people it is suddenly possible.
Yeah.
So it's to see myself tricking me, or so it's
Yeah, it's interesting to start a dialogue with that aspect of you which is resisting this.
Yeah.
What are the motives of that person, of that aspect? Yeah. And that aspect has good intentions. It actually wants to protect you.
Yeah.
That aspect thinks something like, I mean, I don't know in your case, but it could be something like, you need to be careful. If you let go of this, someone else will come and hurt you in the same time. So there's some so that practice, that aspect which doesn't want to let go because it's afraid, and it doesn't trust that there's other ways of being in this situation, safer ways of being in that situation. So what kind of arguments, or what kind of thoughts, what kind of fears are behind that resistance? Yeah. So that's good to explore.
I think also one thing is that it can be general, but also for me that it's a resistance more to feel the pain than to
That's
let
a
go.
big thing, yeah.
And then there can be many reasons, but also that sometimes there's not, because it takes something to feel the pain. Like you said, it takes both time, and so sometimes it's not almost not possible, or in that. So I can't do it until there's space and room and love.
Right. That's an important point. That's an important point. Yes.
So both, because it's so easy to get into this. I should and that and that, and to then notice, but it's the circumstances are now here. So and suddenly you can't feel it. Or how can I create circumstances where inner, but that's why we are here, right? This I can do, this I can do.
Yes,
and
that's right.
I can't control, but I can.
Exactly. You can. That's putting the fertilizer or the water. So that's so that would be also the first thing in trauma therapy, is to create a connection, to create a container where feelings can be felt without being overwhelming, without re-traumatizing. So sometimes that part which is resisting is actually healthy. It's a healthy instinct of something in you noticing, hey, you are not ready. This will be too much. First, you need to stabilize the container within which this feeling can be felt. So I never would encourage kind of breaking the resistance or something, but to do it like in the gentle way you describe it, and sharing with others who have similar experiences. That's a big part of the Stanford University forgiveness process, coming together in groups with people who like parents who have lost their children through murder. That was one group, and so that's That's so important together as a group. Nations, yeah, there's projects of nations which work with forgiveness, where genocide has happened. So that's like, together as a group. The resistance, that's part of that's part of the need of the narrative self to stabilize itself. So it's part of the resistance is that the narrative self, the sense of I, needs to have drama, needs to have pain in order to keep on running. It's part of its need to solidify itself. And we can notice that how there is a part of us who doesn't want to have peace. Because who am I if I don't have enemies anymore? Who am I if I love everyone? Oh, that's scary. It's also in not forgiving, there might be a bit of a self-righteousness. Oh, I'm such a good person, I would never do this. And this horrible person, did this to me. Yeah, so there can be this kind of through the pain to blow yourself up. Not to blow yourself, to solidify yourself, to feel better. Sometimes it feels better to be the victim and see the predators outside. It's painful, but at least we are good. This process of forgiveness is, of course, must rest on the willingness to forgive, the intention to forgive, understanding the benefits of forgiveness. And then having the intention, the aspiration, may I forgive this person? I don't know how, but may I forgive this person? And then if we have some devotional aspect in our practice, we can ask for help. Please, Tara, help me to forgive this person. I just don't know how to do it. So this is kind of the practice of letting go of the control and opening up. And if that prayer is genuine, I think right at the moment of that prayer, you will feel some relief. Because just the intention, the longing to forgive is so beautiful, so heartwarming. Oh, may I genuinely, please help me, all Buddhas, all angels, help me to forgive. I don't know how I can do this. I need help. And then you also need to talk with the interference, with the parts of you who interfere with that, saying, this is so stupid. How can you... This is so stupid to forgive. It's dangerous to forgive. We're living in a dangerous world. Don't open up, don't open your heart. You will be hurt again. What forgiveness does not mean is to say something, yeah, it was okay what you did. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you did. That's not forgiveness. So that's why in the first part of the forgiveness process, it's so important to clearly say what has happened and how you felt and how you feel.
I'm thinking about last year I had a really tough work year, and then most of you met me online when I was really ill in the beginning of the summer.
Yeah, right.
And that was kind of, I think now, just a reaction to the year. My fever was just doing something. And then I lost, I've been all this summer willing to meet all these parts of being squashed and being like, and to forgive for the persons who have been behaving quite roughly. But I lost contact with myself totally with this fever, and I didn't even find the way to myself. I didn't find the way to anything all this summer, and it's only now that I'm here that I'm finding a connection again, and it's very wonderful, and I'm so happy if I can finally feel all the pain. Because somehow when you even lose contact with yourself, then it's kind of like too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah,
say
thank you.
Really, I'm really thankful for this weekend, because it's finally, I feel I'm coming home again.
Yes. Yeah. It's beautiful when you say, finally I can feel my pain again. Yeah, it's so, yeah, wow. I'm so grateful. I can feel my pain. It makes really sense, but it's not, what you would kind of advertise, or because everyone would ask the question, how can I learn not to feel my pain? Yeah. But when you say that, it's like, yeah, it's so true. I'm such a fortunate person. I can really feel my pain.
The thing is that many people tried even through this time give me like just find rest and find peace and do nice things. But I don't want to do nice things. What does that help? I'm not even actually who I am now. So I need someone to kind of pull the carpet and as I think has happened here so many times, that you'll just land in the where you really are, because I'm not in a nice place. So what's the point in sitting in nice places and look at beautiful things? So what? They don't touch me anymore.
Yeah.
So somehow that it's a mirroring the thing that is in there is so important. However it looks like. Sometimes it's really ugly.
Yeah.
And awful, and then you need to get that mirroring.
Yes.
But I had another question. I'm talking a lot. Please tell me, shut up if you
No. It's very beautiful what you say.
violence is born from pain. Do you mean like that the pain inside is somehow attracting violence? Is that
No, when violent action, like when people act violently, or when people hurt others, I mean, this is like, I'm not sure if this is like a true statement, like 100%, but I think if one would explore where this impulse of hurting someone comes from, I think quite often you come to a hurt place, an unhappy place. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about children who are. I can often see myself in adults that if you are in a very hurt place, then you actually get more hurt all the time in the same place until you.
That's another perspective on this.
Children who get very hurt. Well,
yeah. So that's what you say. You attract violence. That would be a bit of a karmic perspective on it. Yeah. So that we attract violence, well, like the angry boss example of yesterday. So we attract through our karma, where our karma manifests in similar situation. And this is actually when you, and here in the Lojong teachings, we learn to see this as opportunities to heal, to purify. But what often happens is, so there's violence and we respond with a pattern which is the cause for that violence being in our world. So the angry boss, and you get more angry, then there's two angry boss. So that's and with the practice of Lojong, you try to respond to the situation differently, and with that you change the pattern, which is the original cause for that violence in your life. And that's called purification or healing. And from a karmic point of view, and I'm not really happy with that kind of answer, but if I would, with children, it is that in the teachings on karma, violence which happens to children, you would use the same kind of thinking, but it has nothing to do with punishment or something like that. There is no punishment, like, or to ask, how does a child deserve to be raped? That's Christian thinking, because there's no agency who is like punishing you for something you did in your past life. And then also, I mean, the concept of rebirth in Buddhism is quite complex, because on one hand they talk about the continuity, so that child which is born is emerging from a stream of consciousness, from an infinite stream of consciousness. But the child, it's not that there was an I which kind of jumps from one life to the next. So it's not like, how do I say this? So maybe like this. So if I experience a series of that my bike is stolen, yeah? So like just not only once, but like 4 times in 1 year, my bike is stolen. So from the karmic point of view, this is a display of stealing. in my own system. And the way to stop other people to steal my bikes is to practice generosity. Yeah. To give away bikes, to repair bikes, to take care that some children in another country have bikes. So that would be the way to purify this karma. And then at one point, there will be no bike stealing happening anymore. But if I then would say something like, I must have been a bike thief in my last life, that doesn't make sense, because it was not me, not I, who was the thief, because I was not there. That what I think I am didn't do that. I think I didn't communicate this, but it doesn't matter. It's a good idea, but it needs some work on my side to try to express what I want to say. Anyway, yeah, so that was with the children. And of course, I never would say something like this kind of in a different environment, like because people misunderstand it. People hear there's some kind of punishment, something personal. And that's not so. I think it would take months to talk about this and to explore this. Because you need to study emptiness for that, and karma, and the nature of consciousness, and what habits are, and so on and so on. And then to just say, yeah, a child which is being raped is experiencing karma from his last life. That's not even. This is not Buddhism. To say something like this, it's not Buddhism. This is like a more Hinduistic idea that there is an I which kind of jumps from life to life, so that's what the Buddha refuted and deconstructed, that there is no I which can jump from life to life. Nevertheless, and then it becomes complex, there is some continuity. In the same way, there's a continuity from yesterday evening and you being here. But there was no I traveling from moment to moment, from minute to minute, from hour to hour. So the person who is here today is a completely different person than the one who was here yesterday. Everything has changed. It seems like that. I came here this morning. But then, who is that I who came this morning? And then you will investigate and you will never find that I which came here this morning. Nevertheless, there's a continuity. And to bring these two together is quite, it's something I have not figured out, but it's still a mystery for me. But there is some continuity, but how that functions, that's difficult to explain.
Is there something to read or listen to that you could recommend to understand more about? Because karma, it's a difficult. It's in. Sometimes I think I get some, but it's.
Yeah, but you are not going to understand it.
No, but still it's there, and sometimes it gives me some. Sometimes when some teacher says something, it's like, aha. But then.
Yeah.
Because it's also provoking in some context, so it's
yeah.
so
It makes sense to deeply reflect on karma.
Deepen understanding.
It makes sense, but it's also good already to know that you're not going to have this is how it is. And if you ever come to that place in the Buddhist teachings, this is how it is, then you are wrong.
No, I'm not
the Buddha would definitely come and say, no, it's not like this. Yeah. So it's like maps, but the territory is undescribable. So I think one Western teacher who really looks deeply into karma is Alex Berson, is his name. Berson. Can someone pronounce? Yeah. Z. Yeah. I think his website is Study Buddhism now. It used to be Berson Archives, but they changed it. And probably, if you get into that material, you will feel that's a bit too much. Because he's really, he is so, he goes into, he talks about karma for 1 year. And then in the end, you still have not understood it. Yeah, but there is a bit of, like a bit of a bit of orientation. Yeah, but even on the level of the Lam Rim teachings, because the teachings on karma are part of the first scope of the Lam Rim, the first level of the Lam Rim. So then they talk about the laws of karma, and so even that is already, I think, is helpful to know as a kind of orientation, not holding it too tightly. This is how it is. I think many people I meet, they settle onto a very superficial understanding of karma. They kind of memorize these sentences, and then they say, it's so now. And these are the people who would say, wow, your bike was stolen. That's great, and it's your karma. And then I punch the nose of that person, and I say, oh, that was your karma. You said something very stupid. This is like idiot karma, idiot level of karma. And even there in the teachings, in the Lam Rim teachings, it said only a fully awakened person can understand karma. It's like we don't have the hardware, like an ant. An ant doesn't have the hardware to understand quantum physics. And we don't have the hardware to understand karma. Our brain is too limited. Also, there is Alex Berson looks at karma on, he looks, for example, what part of the teachings on karma are helpful, for example, for people who don't accept the continuity of consciousness. Yeah. So that's a level of karma. For example, habits. So why do we have the habit to smoke a cigarette? Because we have done it before. So that's karma. So there's an action, and that action has a cause, and the cause for that action is habit. Yeah. So that's one level of the teachings on karma, which are, that's understandable for everyone. Yes.
Could it be helpful to think about it in a way of the human experience. For example, with the bike thief, that you suddenly realize that, oh, there's thieving in the world. And then what do I do about that? And to not take it personally. Like, oh, this happened to me on my bike, but this is something that has happened. And how do I counter that?
I like that. Yes. Yeah, that would be your... So that's also like, when I look at war, then it's not that I take responsibility for it, but I understand, that's at least the map I'm using, I understand I'm on a planet where there's war because there's violence in me. I'm part of it. I'm not responsible for the war in wherever it is, but it's also an expression of my inner life. And one way to work with the war on this planet is, that's just one way, it also needs to express in the outside. But one important way, and probably for me, somehow in this life I choose to focus on the inner work. One way to contribute to the peace in the world is to address the wounds inside of me, the root causes for war. Yeah. So I think that's a good. I like it because it takes out this personal this personal. Oh, now I'm punished by having stolen bike in my last lives. Yeah. And another invitation for me always is when something like this happens, like my bike was stolen a few times. So it's always good to become, to take this as an information, as signals, like recurring things. Yeah, like for example, since years you struggle with having a lack of resources. I mean, you're just struggling. You work hard and you change job, but it's just you're just not getting out of the red numbers. Yeah. So what's, from a karmic point of view, what's the cause for that? Is stinginess, greed. That's why there's a lack of resources. So then, for me, a good question then is, okay, where in my life can I be more generous? Where in my life the stinginess which expresses in this lack of resources, where is that still present? Yeah? And it might be not like a huge thing, but that's also one of the teachings on karma is, one of the 4 laws of karma, or how they call it, is that karma multiplies. So it becomes stronger. So even a small incident of stealing in a previous life can manifest in something much more severe in this life. So, like if I experience violence, then if I check in this life, I might appreciate, I actually never did that to another person in this life. But where are kind of similar tendencies in me, and how can I work with them? And of course, if you have a lack of resources, then counterinstinctual, it's really counterinstinctual, counterintuitive to practice generosity. So that would be an example of this spiral. So you have lack of resources, so you become more afraid, you become more holding. And that's the original cause for having no resources. So that's where so there will be less and less less and less of resources. Or at least there will be more and more of the experience of the lack of resources. And in the karmic teachings, we learn that that actually kind of creates the world we live in. So the land becomes more and more barren because you put on the glasses of lack of resources, lack of resources. You can sometimes notice that in people who go this spiral of not trusting others. Oh, everyone wants to have my money and they're all after me, and they build fences around their flat, and they don't let anyone in. So, and they live in an area like in Göteborg, where there's a lot of resources, but it goes like this, and more the glasses, and more me for me, yeah. And then the world around them changes. What I just said makes only sense in a profound way when we realize that there is no independent, objective, materialistic world out there. If we have a sense that there is a real world out there which has resources or has no resources, then it's very difficult to have some trust into the power of perspective. Into the power of perspective. Okay, so let's have a break.